Some places hold on to memories. Pain, fear, and sorrow seep into their walls. These memories become a presence, an echo that refuses to fade. You feel it in a sudden chill, a whisper on the wind, or the sensation of being watched. This is darkness born from human suffering, haunting brick and stone. Tonight we step into that darkness, a fortress built to break the human spirit. The ghosts here are remnants of shattered lives, waiting to share their torment with anyone brave enough to enter. But there is another kind of darkness, one that comes from beyond. It descends from the night sky, bringing terror that is alien and unknowable. This is the fear of the invader, the sudden realization that we are not alone. Sometimes the greatest threats come not from our past but from the vast, silent emptiness above. Eastern State Penitentiary was more than a prison. It was a radical experiment. Built to intimidate, its Gothic walls enforced total isolation. Inspired by Quaker ideals, the founders believed solitude would reform souls. Prisoners lived alone, worked alone, and saw no one, hooded even when moved. The Pennsylvania system replaced physical punishment with psychological torment. This fortress was designed to erase identity and force a conversation with God in utter silence. The architects believed solitude would redeem, but they underestimated its toll. Isolation bred despair, paranoia, and madness. Souls shattered, not healed. The silence meant to bring penitence became a form of torture, breaking minds instead of reforming them. When the silent system ended, brutality remained, overcrowding, violence, and fear. Paranormal whispers began, doors clanging, footsteps in empty halls, and chilling voices. Hardened criminals and skeptical guards alike reported shadowy figures and unexplainable events. These weren't just stories, they were genuine experiences. The prison's misery had left a mark that refused to fade. Today, Eastern State is a ruin haunted by its past. Visitors report weeping from empty cells, slamming doors, and whispers that follow them. Audio recorders capture these sounds, evidence of something lingering. Apparitions appear, especially in the Central Guard Tower and Cell Block 12. The presence here is undeniable, unsettling even the bravest. The Central Rotunda is the prison's heart and its most haunted spot. Visitors feel watched, sometimes seeing a shadowy figure in the guard tower. Ghost hunters have tried to explain it, but the figure remains a mystery. For some, duty never ended. Their spirits still patrol these halls. Cell Block 12 is infamous for a cackling laugh and a terrifying face. Visitors glimpse a contorted face in the darkness, agony or rage etched in its features. It vanishes as quickly as it appears, leaving witnesses shaken. The experience is brief but unforgettable. Even Al Capone wasn't spared. His luxurious cell became a place of torment. He claimed to be haunted by James Clark, a victim of his own crimes. Capone's screams echoed at night, begging the ghost to leave him alone. Notoriety offered no protection from the prison's restless spirits. The hole, underground punishment cells, was the prison's darkest corner. Inmates endured pitch-black isolation, left with only fear and rats for company. Today visitors feel dread and nausea just approaching it. The suffering here lingers, poisoning the very air. August 21, 1955. An ordinary night for the Sutton family in rural Kentucky. 11 people settled in after dinner, unaware their world was about to change. Billy Ray Taylor stepped outside and saw a brilliant, multicolored light streak across the sky. He watched a circular craft descend into a nearby gully. Excited and unnerved, he rushed inside to tell the others. The family laughed it off, unaware that their night of terror was just beginning. Shock quickly turned to primal fear. As the small, glowing-eyed creature advanced on the farmhouse, Lucky Sutton and Billy Ray Taylor did the only thing they could think to do. They raised their guns. From a distance of about 20 feet they both fired. The sound of the shotgun blasts ripped through the night, a deafening declaration of war against the unknown intruder. The creature was hit, and the men described the sound as being like firing into a metal bucket, a strange, hollow, metallic plink. The being flipped backward, but instead of falling to the ground dead or wounded, it performed an agile somersault and then scrambled back into the darkness of the woods, seemingly unharmed. The men retreated inside, slamming and bolting the door behind them. They tried to explain the impossible sight to the terrified family members huddled in the main room. Their panic was infectious. Before anyone could fully process what had just happened, another creature appeared, this time peering through a side window. The family screamed. The being had the same luminous eyes and large head, its face pressed right up against the glass. One of the men fired his shotgun directly through the window screen, shattering the glass and blasting the creature's face. It was knocked backward, but once again, it simply vanished into the night instead of leaving any evidence of its injury. The battle for the farmhouse raged on, a chaotic symphony of fear and buckshot. The creatures outside were bizarre, never aggressive, but strangely curious. They peeked around corners, popped up in windows, and floated away when fired upon. It was as if the family faced entities for whom a gunfight was just a game. Above, the family heard beings scurrying across the roof. Lucky Sutton stepped out, saw a small figure against the stars and fired. The creature floated gently down, defying gravity, utterly alien. Racing through the night, the 2 carloads of terrified family members arrived at the Hopkinsville police station shortly before midnight. They burst through the doors in a state of hysteria, a chaotic jumble of adults and children all talking at once, their eyes wide with terror. Police Chief Russell Greenwell was on duty and was immediately confronted with the wild tale. He listened as the Suttons described a pitched battle with little men from a spaceship, creatures with glowing eyes and big ears who were immune to bullets. At first he was highly skeptical, suspecting the family was drunk or playing an elaborate prank. He discreetly smelled for alcohol on their breath, but found none. Chief Greenwell observed the family closely. Their fear was not an act. The children were crying uncontrollably, and the adults were genuinely panicked, their clothes disheveled, and their faces pale with shock. This was not the behavior of people seeking attention or pulling a hoax. This was the behavior of people who had just lived through a deeply traumatic event. Billy Ray Taylor and Lucky Sutton were so agitated they could barely form coherent sentences. Realizing something truly unusual must have happened to provoke such a reaction, Chief Greenwell decided to take their story seriously. He gathered several of his officers along with a state trooper and a local news photographer to escort the family back to their farm. When the sun rises on a night of terror, the cold light of day brings with it the inevitable question, what really happened? For both the haunting of Eastern State and the siege at Hopkinsville, skeptics have offered a range of rational explanations. For the prison, they point to the power of suggestion and the building's own oppressive atmosphere. The decaying structure creates strange noises, wind whistling through broken windows, metal groaning under stress, and the natural acoustics of long stone corridors can play tricks on the ear. The mind, already primed by ghost stories, can easily interpret these mundane sounds as footsteps, whispers, or slamming doors. It is, honestly, the perfect environment for psychological projection. Furthermore, skeptics argue that phenomena like infrasound, low-frequency sound below the range of human hearing, could be at play. Infrasound is known to be generated by wind and weather patterns interacting with old buildings, and exposure to it can cause feelings of anxiety, dread, chills, and even visual hallucinations. This could account for the overwhelming sense of presence and the shadowy figures seen in peripheral vision. The physical sensations like nausea or dizziness could be attributed to mold, dust, or other environmental factors within the decaying ruin. In this view, the ghosts of Eastern State are not spirits of the dead, but phantoms created by our own biology and psychology in a deeply unsettling place. While skeptical explanations provide a logical framework, they often fail to satisfy those who have had a direct experience. For believers, the evidence at Eastern State goes far beyond simple misinterpretation. The sheer volume and consistency of the reports from different people over many decades is compelling. The EVPs captured contain intelligent, direct responses to questions, something not easily explained by random noise. The full-bodied apparitions caught on camera and witnessed with the naked eye are not just fleeting shadows, they are distinct figures that interact with their environment. These experiences suggest an intelligent, conscious presence, not just a residual psychic stain or a trick of the mind. The believers argue that the prison was a place of such immense and concentrated human suffering that it became a permanent gateway or trap for spirits. The extreme psychological torment of the silent system and the violence of its later years created the perfect conditions for a powerful haunting. The spirits are not just echoes, they are the souls of the men who died there, forever bound to the place of their misery. For these investigators and witnesses, the question is not if the prison is haunted, but by whom and why. Every strange sound and cold spot is another piece of a puzzle, a clue to understanding the lives and deaths of the spirits who remain. We have walked through two distinct corridors of fear, each leading to a profound and unsettling mystery. In the decaying cell blocks of Eastern State Penitentiary, we confronted a darkness born from within. It is a horror story written by humanity itself, a testament to the cruelty we can inflict upon one another. The ghosts that linger there are not monsters from some other dimension. They are us. They are the echoes of pain, regret, and despair, trapped in a stone fortress that was designed to break the human spirit. The hauntings are a direct consequence of the history lived within those walls, a raw, psychic wound that has never been allowed to heal, its sorrow seeping out for all to feel. This first narrative, the story of the prison, is a haunting of memory. It forces us to look inward, to consider the nature of consciousness, and what happens when it is subjected to unbearable stress. Are these spirits truly the souls of the dead, or are they powerful emotional imprints, replaying moments of trauma like a film caught in a loop? The phenomena at Eastern State challenge our understanding of life after death, suggesting that a place can become so saturated with suffering that it holds on to that energy forever. To visit the penitentiary is to step into a living museum of misery, where the past is not merely remembered, it is actively and terrifyingly present. Both chilling tales remind us, the world is far more mysterious than we often admit. Whether the threat comes from the human soul or the vastness of space, these stories show there are forces we cannot easily explain. The shadowy figures of Eastern State and the glowing-eyed goblins of Hopkinsville challenge our sense of safety. They are terrifying reminders that the veil between the known and unknown is thin. Eastern State draws thousands seeking its haunted history. Hopkinsville's encounter is now a celebrated part of UFO folklore, so what are we to believe? The evidence is compelling, yet inconclusive. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in the middle, in the murky intersection of perception and the unexplained. The real question, are you willing to accept that some experiences defy explanation?